On New Year's Day 2026, Cleveland woke up to what can only be called an earthquake shaking the halls of the Browns organization. While most people were dealing with their hangovers and making promises they wouldn't keep until February, the Browns front office was reportedly planning one of the biggest coaching changes in the history of the franchise. And let me tell you, the tea being spilled right now is really hot. Kevin Stefanski, the man who once gave a franchise that was desperate for success hope, is now at the center of a media storm that could destroy everything in its path. The whispers that started as quiet murmurings in the back halls of the Browns building have grown into loud screams that can be heard all the way from Lake Erie to the Ohio River. Jimmy Haslam, the controversial owner who has been praised and criticized throughout his time in charge, is apparently ready to do things that will shock the entire National Football League. But this is where things get really crazy. People are worried about whether Stefanski will lose his job, but there is a much bigger game going on behind closed doors. The Browns are not only thinking about firing their head coach, they're putting together what insiders are calling a carefully planned exit strategy that would let Stefanski save face and Haslam start over. This is the best kind of political maneuvering, people, and we're all watching it happen in real time. When Mike McDaniel's name suddenly popped up on Cleveland's radar, like a blip on a submarine's sonar system, the rumors started to spread. People are reportedly looking at McDaniel, the current head coach of the Miami Dolphins, as a possible replacement. He has been going through a lot of ups and downs in South Florida. Before you think this is just baseless speculation from bored sports writers with too much time on their hands, know that several reliable sources have been hinting that something big is happening in Cleveland's front office. Cleveland fans, who are known for being loyal even after years of heartbreak, are split right down the middle on this one. Some people want to get rid of Stefanski right away, using his terrible 7-win record over the last 2 seasons as proof that things need to change right away. 7 wins in 2 years, people. Take a moment to let that sink in. That's not just bad. That's a disaster for a franchise that has spent millions of dollars trying to build a winner. Some fans, on the other hand, are blaming Haslam directly. They say that the real problem isn't on the sidelines, but in the owner's box, where every choice has led the Browns to dead ends that end in disappointment. When Cleveland's offensive coordinator Tommy Rees stepped up to the microphone during what was supposed to be a normal interview, the drama reached a peak. Instead of the usual boring platitudes and coach speak, Rees had to defend his boss while the whole sports world watched with bated breath. From a media point of view, this situation is very interesting to look at. This coordinator's job security is directly linked to Stefanski's fate. They have to go on record and tell everyone that everything is fine, even though the building might be burning down around them. Rees's words were carefully chosen, like the kind of corporate damage control you would expect from a Fortune 500 company in a PR crisis, not a football team. He talked about how well Stefanski leads and how hard the coaching staff works. Refertes stays focused on what they do every day and tries to block out all the noise. But here's the deal with noise in the NFL. When it gets this loud, it's usually because there's a real fire under all that smoke. When it comes to coaching changes, the media doesn't just make up controversies out of nowhere. These stories have legs because people who work for the companies start to talk. And once that floodgate opens, it can't be closed. The circumstances surrounding these 7 wins over 2 seasons make this situation even more interesting. This isn't just about one bad year when injuries ruined the team or a franchise quarterback got hurt in the first week. This is a pattern of consistently not doing well that can't be explained by bad luck or bad circumstances. The Browns have had their fair share of drama with quarterbacks, that's for sure. The Deshaun Watson situation has been a public relations nightmare and a disaster on the field that has made it harder for the team to compete at a high level. But when does it become the head coach's job to find ways to win even when things aren't going well? They literally get paid millions of dollars to do that. The headline of the Sports Illustrated article that broke this story was Tommy Rees shut down speculation about Kevin Stefanski's future with the Browns. But let's be honest, did he really shut anything down? Or did what he said just confirm what everyone already thinks? When a coordinator has to publicly defend the head coach's future with the team, that's usually not a good sign. It's like when a business says in a statement that the board has full faith in the CEO. That CEO will update their LinkedIn profile 9 times out of 10 within a month. The timing of all this is very interesting. It's the first day of the new year, and most NFL teams are either getting ready for the playoffs or already looking at how they did during the offseason. The Browns are in the second group with a terrible 4-2 record and one pointless game left to play. That last game against the Baltimore Ravens felt like a lame duck session of Congress, with everyone going through the motions but secretly wondering what the future holds. Players are already looking ahead to next season. It looks like the front office is doing shadow interviews with people who might be able to take over for the coaches who are updating their resumes. Fans of the Cleveland Browns are split into two groups that are at war over Mike McDaniel's name being thrown around as a possible candidate. These groups are so divided that they make the Hatfields and McCoys look like they are having a friendly argument. Some fans think McDaniel is an offensive innovator who helped turn the Dolphins into a high-powered scoring machine while he was there. These fans say that he is a great play caller and that he knows how to get the most out of players like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The skeptics, on the other hand, have a very simple question. Why would the Dolphins let McDaniel go if he is so great? It's a good point that gets to the heart of the NFL's crazy coaching carousel. In reality, McDaniel's time in Miami has been a mix of good and bad. Yes, the offense has been very good at times. Yes, he's had some great moments that make it seem like he could be a great head coach. But there have also been worries about his ability to handle games at key times, doubts about how well he coordinates his defense, and rumors that his system relies too much on having fast players at the skill positions. Would that work in Cleveland, where the roster is very different from what he's used to in South Florida? That is the question that keeps Browns fans up at night. The way this whole thing is being covered in the news is especially interesting. Most of the time, when teams are thinking about making coaching changes, they try to keep it a secret until the end of the season. The Browns, on the other hand, will make vague statements, avoid direct questions, and generally try to keep the organization stable. This thing is leaking like a rusty bucket, with information coming from a lot of different places. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky has said that he has heard mixed things about the Miami situation and that Cleveland is a place to watch. Mary Kay, who knows the Haslam family well, says that the Browns have talked about Stefanski's future within the team. Let's take a moment to think about what internal discussions really means in NFL terms. It's a business way of saying that we're thinking about making a change, but we're not ready to do it yet. These aren't just small talk at the water cooler about the weather. These are high-level meetings where the owners, general managers, and probably some consultants are sitting around a conference table with spreadsheets, performance metrics, and lists of possible candidates. They're playing out different scenarios and thinking about how the public will react. They're also trying to figure out the best way to make a coaching change without destroying the whole franchise. This story gets even more interesting when you think about Marvin Lewis and how long he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. Lewis was known for never winning a playoff game while he was in Cincinnati. Still, the company kept hiring him year after year. Many people were confused by the decision, and Bengals fans were angry that their team seemed happy with being average while other teams made big moves. It's clear that this is similar to what the Browns are going through right now. Are the Browns about to make the same mistake by keeping a coach who has shown he can't win all the time? Or are they going to overreact to a 2-year period that was full of things that Stefanski couldn't control? This is where things get really hot. A lot of people are saying that even if the Browns let go of Stefanski, they won't call it a firing. Stefanski is leaving the organization because he has accepted another head coaching job, so the story will be that they are both leaving. A lot of people have said that the New York Giants could be a good place for him to land, and that makes a lot of sense. The Giants are a mess right now and really need someone to lead them and show them what to do. Stefanski is still known as a smart football coach, even though he hasn't been doing well in Cleveland lately. He won NFL Coach of the Year in 2020. For a team like the Giants that is desperate, hiring someone with Stefanski's experience could be a smart move. This kind of planned exit would be good for everyone involved. Stefanski doesn't have to worry about having fired someone on his resume, which is a big deal in coaching circles. The Browns can start over without looking like they're panicking or admitting they made a mistake. And the fans get closure and the promise of something new, which is all a fan base that has been through a lot. really wants. It's the NFL's way of saying, it's not you, it's me. But everyone knows it's really you. Jim Schwartz's part in all of this is another thing to think about. Schwartz, the defensive coordinator who is known for being one of the smartest defensive minds in football, might be safe no matter what happens with Stefanski. He is the kind of coach whose value is so clear that he can stay with the team through changes in leadership. People are even talking about the possibility that Schwartz could move up in the organization to a bigger role, like associate head coach or even head coach candidate if the Browns decide to go in a different direction. This man is an NFL legend with a long history of success that speaks for itself. Smart companies don't let guys like that leave without a fight. What about the other coaches, though? This is where things get really bad. In the NFL, when a head coach is fired, it usually leads to the firing of the whole coaching staff. Offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and position coaches all get fired because the new head coach wants to hire his own staff. It's one of the hard truths about the job. Even if you're great at your job, loved by players, and doing everything right, if your boss gets fired, you're probably going with him. That's why what Tommy Rees said in defense of Stefanski is even more important. He's not just standing up for his boss. He is protecting his own job and the jobs of everyone else on that staff. When you look at the X's and O's and the strategic moves, you can lose sight of the people involved. These people have families, mortgages, and lives that get turned upside down when coaching changes happen. But this is also a job. And a business that makes billions of dollars a year doesn't have much time to keep losing. The Browns have some of the most devoted fans in all of professional sports. People who have stuck with this team through years of disappointment that would make grown men cry. Those fans deserve more than just 7 wins in 2 years. They deserve a team that fights, gives them hope, and doesn't make them the butt of jokes on national TV. This situation with the Browns is a good example of bigger problems that the NFL is facing. The league is getting more and more impatient with coaches, and the average length of time they stay is getting shorter and shorter. Teams fire coaches after 2 or 3 years without giving them a real chance to build something that will last. But the league is also more competitive than ever because of better coaching, better analytics, and better player development all around. If you're not winning in this situation, you're losing. And if you fall behind in the NFL, you start to lose your importance. The Browns situation is also a good example of how hard it is to start a winning culture from scratch. Stefanski had big plans and hopes for how to make the franchise better. He won Coach of the Year in his first season, which seemed to prove that they had made the right choice. But now that the wins have stopped coming and the losses have started piling up, that initial hope has turned into anger and disappointment. To create a culture of winning, you need more than just a good coach. Everyone in the organization, from the owner to the equipment manager, needs to be on the same page. It takes smart drafting, smart free agent signings, and a little bit of luck along the way. Even the best coaches in the world can have trouble when any of those things are missing or out of place. The quarterback situation needs special attention because you can't talk about the Browns' problems without talking about Deshaun Watson. The Browns made one of the most aggressive trades in NFL history to get Watson. They gave up multiple first-round picks and signed him to a fully guaranteed contract, which shocked the whole league. It was a move that caused a lot of debate because Watson had problems off the field, but the Browns thought they were getting a great quarterback who would change their offense. Instead, Watson has been a huge letdown, dealing with injuries, inconsistent play, and not being able to get back to the level of play that made him one of the league's rising stars in Houston. Stefanski isn't completely to blame, but as the head coach, he is partly to blame for not getting more out of his highest-paid player. Some people have said that it's unfair to judge Stefanski's time without taking into account how unstable the quarterback position has been. They say that no coach can do well without good quarterback play, and the Browns haven't had that consistently since Stefanski took over. That's a good point, but it also makes you wonder if Stefanski and his offensive staff have done enough to work around the problems they've been having. Good coaches know how to win even when their teams aren't perfect. They make the most of their players' strengths and the least of their weaknesses. When you coach in the NFL and make millions of dollars, that's what you should expect. The mention of the Browns' rookie class gives me a little bit of hope in the middle of all this chaos. Even though the team has had a lot of problems, there have been some good things, especially with the young players who will be the future of the franchise. Some people think that general manager Andrew Barry might make it through this possible purge because of this. Barry has shown that he can find and develop young talent, which is very important in the NFL today. The draft is what keeps successful teams going. If Barry has shown that he can pick good players in the draft, the owners might decide that the best thing to do is to keep him and hire a new coach. It would give fans the change they want while still keeping some things the same. The tension in Cleveland is high as we get closer to the last game of the regular season. Players are getting ready for the game, but everyone knows that it doesn't really matter for the playoffs. But it could also be Stefanski and his coaching staff's last tour. It's bittersweet to see a coach on the sidelines, knowing it could be his last game with the team. No matter what happens next, Stefanski gave the Browns his all. Even though the results weren't what he wanted, that doesn't change the fact that he tried to turn this ship around. The media circus around all of this has been non-stop. We look at every comment. Every look on your face is looked at closely. Articles that get millions of clicks always quote unnamed sources. This is how sports are in the age of social media. There is no privacy. Nothing stays in one place. As soon as there is a hint of possible change, it spreads like wildfire across the internet and becomes the main story. The Browns can't seem to keep any control over the message anymore. The toothpaste is out of the tube, and there's no way to put it back in. Cleveland fans are getting ready for what's coming on Monday, which many sources say is the day when decisions will be made. In this story, Monday has become almost like a myth. The day when all the talk and guesswork will be replaced by real facts. Is Stefanski going to lose his job? Will he quit to work somewhere else? Will the Browns surprise everyone by saying he's staying? Fans who just want to know where their favorite team is going are going crazy because of the uncertainty. The Browns' problems make more sense when you look at how other teams are handling their coaching situations. Every year, about 25 to 33% of NFL teams change coaches. Some people do great work with new coaches who come in and quickly turn franchises around. Others are disasters, with teams changing coaches every few years and never finding stability. The Browns have sadly been in the second group for most of their time back in the league since 1999. They've had coach after coach, and each one has promised to be the one who finally gets it right, but none of them have been able to keep the team winning. The Browns need stability and a long-term plan that everyone in the organization agrees on more than anything else. When you fire coaches every 2 or 3 years, it makes it hard to build something that will last. But keeping a coach who is clearly not doing their job is just as bad. It's a fine line, and finding that sweet spot is what makes some organizations successful and others always losing. The Browns are at a crossroads right now, and the choices they make in the next few days will have effects that last long after the 2026 season. We also can't ignore the business side of all this. The Browns are a valuable team that makes a lot of money for the owner. But that money depends on how engaged fans are, and fans need hope and a sense of competition to stay interested. Fans stop buying tickets, merchandise, and watching games when they lose faith in the product on the field. Haslam knows this better than anyone else. He has made some decisions that people don't agree with, but he has also shown that he is willing to make changes when he thinks the team is going in the wrong direction. It's up for debate whether those changes were the right ones, but at least he's trying to win, which is more than some owners in the league can say. If Mike McDaniel comes to the Browns, it would mean a big change in their way of thinking. McDaniel's offense is based on speed, trickery, and creative play calling that keeps defenses on their toes. It's very different from what the Browns have been doing, and making that kind of change would mean making big changes to the roster. The Browns would have to get the kind of skill position players who do well in McDaniel's system. This would mean more changes, more uncertainty, and more risk. But every big choice comes with some risk. You may need to take some calculated risks to get out of a rut of mediocrity. One thing is clear as this story goes on. The Browns are at a very important point in the history of their team. The choices made now will have effects for years to come, changing everything from the draft strategy to free agency to the organization's overall culture. People are watching. The media is covering it, and the whole NFL is watching to see what happens in Cleveland. This is a must-see show for football fans. The kind of drama that goes beyond the game and becomes a story about dreams, failure, redemption, and the hope that things will be different this time.